Welcome back to Montelibretti and the second day of Nations Cup action, the first of 8 legs in the 2023 FEI Eventing Nations Cup Series. We are in Italy, 30 minutes north of Rome for the second day of dressage, and actually it is a pretty short day of dressage as well. Just 10 combinations remain to present to our ground jury. Our president of the ground jury at C, Seppo Lane, James Rooney at E for Great Britain, and Marina Cecchetti for Italy at M. So how does the leaderboard look as things stand? Well, before the final 10 combinations come forward, let's take a look at it. Leah Siegel and Fighting Line for Austria. The combinations that have won at this level previously lead the way, 24.4, narrowly ahead of a Belgian trio. Now, actually, Belgium lead the Team Nations Cup standings. We'll come on to that in just a second. But Jarno Verkwimp and Mahalia, 25.7, second in the individual standings. Karen Donkers, Fletcher van ter Verhoef, a horse that has been such a stalwart at the very top level of the sport. For Belgium, also in third, 28.1, narrowly ahead of Laura de Liederkerke-Meyer. Ducati Darville, 28.3 in fourth. Equal fourth with Karim Florin Leguag. Triton Fontaine, his championship ride, 28.3, also tied for fourth. So that is how the individual standings look. We've got 10 riders still to come. And I think we've got some 7 different nations to come as well. 11 different nations in total represented throughout this Nations Cup field. And the first to get us underway today will be Simone Sordi and Chocolat de Lignère, owned by Giuseppe Sordi. So let's remind ourselves of what the Nations Cup Series looks like in 2023. 8 legs in total, which means that teams can take their 7 best counting scores to head towards their team tally. It was actually Team Germany who won the Nations Cup Series in 2022. It all kicks off this weekend in Montelibretti in Italy. Then attentions turn to Great Britain, to Chatsworth. Great Britain, of course, won the final leg of last year's series in Buccolo. And on home soil, the first time we've seen a Nations Cup leg at Chatsworth for some time, in the middle of May. Mill Street in Ireland, the Nations Cup back in Mill Street, beginning of June 1st through to the 6th of June. Poland in Stragom, 21st to the 25th of June, and then on to French soil. Harada-Jardy plays host to leg 5, 13th through to the 16th of July. Switzerland, Avanches, the venue of the 2021 European Championships, 20th to the 23rd of July. Is leg 6. Arville in Belgium, 17th through to the 20th of August. And then the final leg, Buccolo, the long format class in Buccolo in the Netherlands, the 5th through to the 10th of October. And of course, we will have all of the action for you here on FEI TV. We've got plenty more coming up over the next few months as well. Lots of action throughout each of the different disciplines. If you're interested in the jumping side of things, well, this weekend it is the Dutch Masters in Stogerbosch. Daniel Zeusser looking to retain the crown that he won 12 months ago with one of the highest rated horses in the world, Scuderia 1918 Tobago Z. But the winner of the Rolex Grand Slam leg in Geneva, McLean Ward and HH Azure, also back to try and take the title. There will, of course, be the FEI World Cup finals taking place in Omaha in the state of Nebraska in the US at the beginning of April, 4th through to the 8th of April. And you'll be able to watch top-class dressage and jumping action from there as well. So just waiting for the first combination to come forward. And Simone Sordi, Chocolat de Lignère was the first combination we were expecting in the dressage. The final 10 combinations to go, and we've got all sorts. We've got riders who have been ridden at the World Championship level, Olympic level as well. As I say, 7 different nations represented. Just looking a little bit on their toes coming round the arena, just preparing to make their final tweaks. And it's all about getting the horse relaxed at this stage. Lovely flying changes. Not quite sure it was the plan, but certainly capable. So we know we'll be looking out for those in the test. The bell from president of our ground jury, Seppo Lane. Seppo, who has judged at many, many big events all over the world, but including badminton last year, the Cheddington-Bicton Park 5-star in 2021 as well. And a few more additional changes just coming into this first centre line. Hopefully the judges wouldn't have picked up on that. This is Costanza Mantici. Costanza will get you an update on Simone Sordet, but haven't seen them come forward to the dressage, so we'll confirm news on them as we have it. But Costanza just having to work pretty hard. You could see how fresh Daisy's Diamante was on the outside of the arena and really having to channel that energy. So difficult when the tension creeps in. And this horse that was actually produced by a Canadian Olympic rider Catherine Robinson. Catherine alongside husband Giovanni, based in the UK now. And we don't get a total view of the behind of how straight that rein back was, but even from our view we could see that it was just a little bit crooked, lacking a little bit of consistency in the contact. This dressage test is the FEI 4-star B test. A couple of different tests available for each of the international competitions, and I think we'll see some new tests introduced actually later on this year. Andrew Benny, world-renowned judge and a former top-level rider himself, has been working hard on producing some new tests all the way up the levels. And we'll see those, I believe, introduced later on this year. Costanza Mantici and Daisy's Diamante in the arena, the first that we see through today. This is a horse owned by Costanza. A horse that is capable of getting down into the early 30s in the first phase, but averages more around the 37 territory. 10 runs at the 4-star level, so one of the more experienced horses in the field. And actually has been to Montelibretti on a couple of occasions previously as well. We're just outside the top 20 here in the 4-star at the end of last season. Little bit cautious in how much to ask for in the extended canter. Judges there looking to be able to really see the extension and the regularity of the strides. The horses to keep their balance as well, and just a little bit of a resistance to that flying change. It's so typical, isn't it? They give them to you when you don't necessarily want them. Thomas Carlyle, the French championship rider, once said that actually the best flying changes are like the best kisses. They're the ones that you don't ask for. nice extended trot. Daisy's Diamante. Comes up the final centre line. "17 years of age now. Daisy's Diamante by Contendro. And we'll bring you a score for them as soon as it does come through. But the first of our combinations on the final session of dressage here in Montelibretti has finished their test. Just a reminder, the leader at the top of the table at the moment, Leah Siegel, DSP Fighting Line, 24.4 for Austria. Austria currently sitting in second in the Nations Cup standings. It is Belgium who hold an early advantage. Well, now it is a man who has represented Australia at 2 World Championships. One of the nicest men in eventing, it should be said. It is Bill Levitt. Bill comes forward with Hubertus AC. This is a horse that actually started his 2023 season here last week. Had a very good 6th place finish in the 3-star short format. Finished just outside the top 20 at Blenheim last year, actually, in the 4-star long format over in England. And one that I'm sure is very much on the Australian team radar heading in to an important year for them. Bill will play a big part because they'll be looking to secure team qualification. The team, of course, took team silver in Tokyo, but didn't get a qualifying result from those World Championships in Protoni last year. So Bill, no doubt, will be playing a big part in their campaign this season. Hubertus AC, owned by Bill alongside his really supportive long-time owners, Elizabeth Murdoch and Keith Tyson. Wife Jenny out supporting Bill alongside son Josh, actually, who himself is a very, very talented event rider who's competing in one of the other international sections this weekend. Bill actually one of a couple of riders in this 4-star that actually has 2 rides. Had a horse yesterday as well. Looked to be a very good square halt. Very clear immobility. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very clear steps back. Nicely done. This horse looking really rideable, really relaxed in the arena. Certainly we've seen the atmosphere getting to a few horses over the last couple of days. And it's always interesting at this time of year, isn't it? Because it's fresh, it's cold, and actually it is pretty cold and wintry weather out in Montelibretti at the moment. The organisers have done a brilliant job with so much wind and rain over the last couple of weeks. But they're fully clipped out, they're fresh, they're starting the season, they're excitable. And when the wind blows a little bit cooler as well, they always get it up their tail slightly. But Hubertus AC is doing a really good job with Bill there. Not as clean a flying change Bill would have liked. It's very difficult. It comes out very quickly off the side of the arena there. Lovely big transition into the extended canter. Just a little bit above the contact. But Bill was very brave. He asked for as much as he could from the horse. Let's see what the second flying change is like. Better. Bill actually well placed at the moment, inside the top 10 with R&H Tom Tom R. 31.3 was his mark yesterday. His final extended trot across the diagonal. And up the final centre line, Bill Levitt, Australia's sole representative in the 4-star short. Lovely halt to finish. Actually, Andrew Hoy, we saw an international winner at Montelibretti, his compatriot, of course, with Cadet de Belliard a little bit earlier on today. But Bill Levitt has finished the second of his 2 tests. We'll update you with the scores as they come through. Looking to see if a score has come in for Costanza Mancini. I'm not seen anything just yet. So as soon as that does come through, we'll confirm it for you. And likewise that of Bill Levitt too. Next to come forwards, it is for the Netherlands, Mara van der Ven and Lexington van der Vinkenhoff. A nice broad smile at President of our ground jury, Seppo Lane, as Mara goes down the far side of the arena to look to start the test. And this is a horse that she actually rode at the Junior European Championships in Fontainebleau back in 2018. That, of course, the 2-star level of competition. An 11-year-old Belgian warm blood by Ottolangelo. Ottangelo, owned by Samira Norman and Ardna Norman. And actually a combination that had a winning start their 2023 season. They took the 2-star here in Montelibretti last week. But it is a real step up this time because it looks to be a 4-star debut for them. So we wish them the very, very best of luck. Always a momentous occasion in any rider's career. Not quite square behind in the halt, but showed good immobility. This combination also finished last season with an 11th place at the 3-star long format in Stragon. They're very established at the 3-star level of competition. Good transition back to walk. to have just had the bell rung by the judge there. So she's carrying on. You could see she looked to say, was that for me? Going into the extended canter. And hasn't been stopped. So I'm sure you guys watching at home heard that as well. You could see her really look up and see what she was doing, whether it was for her. But continuing on, we'll look out to see if there was anything on the score sheet, but certainly not so. Most likely the arena next door. Up the final centre line. And Mara van der Ven, Lexington van der Vinkenhoff. Big weekend on a 4-star debut for this very talented combination, and big smiles as they finish the first phase. Of course, we will have all of the jumping phases for you live on FEI TV throughout the weekend. Tomorrow, attention is all on the coloured poles, the show jumping phase in the afternoon, and then Sunday morning, the thrills and the spills of the cross-country. And the cross-country time at Montelibretti is notoriously tricky. The 4-star short level of competition is always one of the hardest to make the time cross-country, and it really does play its part on the leaderboard. So make no mistake, this is not a dressage competition. In fact, only twice has one of the 4-star short winners from Montelibretti finished sub 30. So watch this space this weekend. Mara van der Ven, Lexington van der Vinkenhoff have finished their test. So the young combination for the Netherlands will bring a score for you, for them very soon. Just a reminder as to how that leaderboard is looking. Leah Siegel, DSP Fighting Line for Austria, a combination that have won at this level previously, 24.4. They lead the way, and they can be lightning quick in the cross-country, so look out for them on Sunday morning. Jarno Verwimp for Belgium, Mahalia, 25.7 in second. Karen Donkers with the hugely experienced Fletcher van der Verhoef, 28.1 in third. And less than a second behind in equal fourth, Lara de Liederkerkemeyer, Ducati Darviel, and also Karim Florum Leguargue. Triton Fontaine, another very, very quick horse, 28.3 equal fourth for them. So some 6 combinations still to come forward in this 4-star short, of which there have been 48 riders on the start list. 11 different nations represented, and in the Nations Cup competition, it is Belgium out in front as things stand. Of course, still a long way to go. All about the jumping phases, and as we've said a few moments ago, they can really rattle that leaderboard as well. So let's take a look at those team standings. Belgium out in front, 82.1, but hot on their heels, less than a show jump behind. Austria had a brilliant day in the first phase yesterday, including that brilliant test that leads the way from Leah Siegel and DSP Fighting Line, 85.1. Just in the silver medal position. 98.1, Switzerland, the only team of the 6 actually that have secured Team Olympic qualification for Paris, currently sitting in third. The Netherlands in fourth, 100.8. 101.1 is Italy in fifth, and Spain bringing up the team competition, 108.3. But as we say, it is absolutely going to be down to the jumping phases, and We'll be bringing all of that action live for you on FEI TV. Now, though, our attentions are on the final few individual riders to come forward. And the first of those is for Norway. And it is Cecilia Lundberg with Kaskor. Cecilia rides this horse that she owns herself alongside Kathleen Hanlon Lundberg. A 10-year-old by Katu. Combination that were actually top 10 in the 4-star short here at the back end of last year. Jumped a brilliant double clear there. Just picked up time penalties in both phases, but left all of the poles up and jumped the cross-country fences as well. Wouldn't be overly experienced at the 4-star level. Just a couple of runs to their name, including a completion in Kronenberg last October. This horse that was actually originally produced at the early parts of his career over in the US by Olympic rider Doug Payne. But Cecilia has had the ride now for a good number of years. In fact, spent a good time out in the US competing as well herself. Quite square behind in the first halt. It's half 10-metre circle back to the half pass. And in the half pass, our judges really looking for the flexion and the bend. They want it to be really fluent. See a clear crossing of the legs. Nice downward transition into walk. And this medium walk goes then into the extended walk, S to F across the diagonal. To see a real lengthen of the steps and the outline. See horses taking the contact forward. A really free shoulder and really good over track as well, which is where the hind leg lands over the imprint of the foreleg just as it's left the ground. Very direct canter transition. Change was okay, a little bit short behind, but clean. To the extended canter. Expressive flying change, a little bit more expressive than one would perhaps like. But up the final centre line, Cecilia Lundberg and Cascore. Just a little bit of movement in their final halt, but saluting our ground jury. And a good solid test from this young combination from Norway. There's a score just in for Bill Levitt, Hubertus AC, 30.7 for Bill. And actually, that is going to be, I think, a personal best at the level for Hubertus AC. It is a personal best at the level. I think it's a international personal best, actually, for Hubertus AC. So Bill will be delighted with that. And he slots into the top 10, so actually pushes himself down the leaderboard a little bit. He goes into 9th, and that sees him have 2 inside the top 10 as things stand. Eighth, I should say, he goes into, pushes himself down into 10th with R&H Tom R. Couple of other scores to bring you. Costanza Mantici, 38.2. We saw them a little bit earlier on. They go into 32nd on the leaderboard. Still leading the way, Leah Siegel and DSP Fighting Line. Now it is Alessio Pratt and Dollar Boy 9. This horse Alessio owns himself for Italy. The home nation very well represented here. Italy actually finished second in the Nations Cup standings at the end of 2022, just behind Germany, who took the top spot. They could do that this year. They would really like their chances of securing one of those elusive team slots for the Paris Olympic Games, because the highest placed team in the Nations Cup standings as of the end of the season that hasn't already got a qualifying ticket will secure a ticket to Paris. There are 2 tickets also on offer from the FEI Eventing European Championships in Haut-de-Pin in August too. There's plenty of teams fighting for qualification. I mean, we look at the teams here, there's 6 of them, 5 of them all still looking for one of those qualifying spots. And actually, there's a really strong contingent of Chinese riders in the 4-star long, again looking to secure Olympic qualifying runs in the 4-star long format. They'll be heading off to Babarutko to try and secure team qualification, I think, at the end of May. Alex Matian will be the last to go, actually, with a really exciting new ride for him in the Nations Cup. We'll look forward to seeing him a little bit later on. Just that tension creeping in here. It feels such a long way across the arena. Make no mistake about it. When that tension's creeping through and the jogging just starts up, the other side cannot come soon enough. And these horses know that the canter transition is perhaps coming. It's a horse that actually finished at 12th here at the November event. Scored 36.9 in the first phase on that occasion. Good flying change. The rain coming down in Montelibretti. The organisers have just done the most incredible job because the forecast over the last few weeks has been so challenging. The weather has given them all sorts of problems to overcome, but they've worked tirelessly to try and do so. They've resighted a good number of the cross-country fences to be able to ensure that the ground stays as good as possible. It's dropping a little bit behind the vertical at times. Nose tucks in a little bit too much. But got both of those flying changes. Not quite the final halt. They would have wanted Dollar Boy 9, just showing his exuberance to get on with the jumping phases, perhaps. Or his own salute to the judges. Not sure, but completing their test. Dollar Boy 9, Alessio Proa for Italy. It's a combination that are very solid usually in the cross country, so we'll look out for them on Sunday morning. As 4 combinations left to come forwards, and this man yesterday did a fantastic job with his first ride. Lexicon 2 for Austria in the Nations Cup, currently sitting in 6th place individually, and would dearly love to put his second ride well in the mix as well. It is his own Mountbatten 2. Harold, who has been a real stalwart for Austrian eventing for a good number of years, is actually a fully qualified dentist as well, and combines it alongside his riding. Has been to 3 Olympic Games, finished inside the top 20 individually actually in Athens back in 2004, and represented Austria in both Beijing and London in 08 and 12. A couple of world championships under his belt as well. Kentucky 2010, Aachen 2006, and of course Protoni in 2022, where he rode Mountbatten 2. So this horse was his ride at the World Championships in Protoni last year. 12-year-old by Mount Etna, owned, as I say, by Harold himself. And they picked up just 20 penalties in the cross-country in Protoni, but completed, having actually taken part in a number of Nations Cups for Austria last year. Went clear cross-country in both Stragon and Haras de Pin. Haras de Pin, of course, where those European Championships are being held this year. So we could well see Harold representing Austria at those Europeans. He'd have a couple of very good rides. Lexicon, as I say, who he rode yesterday, looks a really exciting prospect for the future, a little bit less experienced. Our ground jury here for the First Nations Cup of the year, first of 8 legs in the 2023 season. Seppo Lane for Finland, James Rooney for Great Britain at E, and Maria Sciacchetti for Italy is at M. This combination, the best they have scored in the first phase, 32.3 in Protoni last May. Perhaps just a little bit too much tension to be challenging that today. Flying change was clean. That change to be straight as well. The second of those changes coming back across the diagonal. And the change wouldn't have been as straight. Oh, and just unfortunately lost a little bit of impulsion there. Dropped behind the bridle and broke into trot in the half pass. That will prove expensive for miscommunication. Good extended trot, very nice extended trot. Really powerful. Slight loss of balance as they come back at the corner. And again, just a couple of moments where they've just lost their rhythm slightly, but Harold Ambrose and Mountbatten too finished their test. And we'll bring a score for you as soon as it does come through. Just a reminder, the one to beat Leah Siegel, DSP Fighting Line, 24.4 is the score at the top of the table. Jarno Verwimp for Belgium, 25.7 in second. And Karen Donkers with the massively experienced Fletcher van der Verenhof, 28.1 in third. So some 3 combinations left to come forward. We've got Spain, Sweden and China. Can any of them challenge that incredible first phase score from Leah Siegel and DSP Fighting Line, 24.4? Well, we will be with you over the next 20 minutes or so to find out. We hope you're enjoying all of our coverage on FEI TV. We will, of course, be with you for all of the jumping phases throughout the weekend as well. Myself, Nicole Brown, will be back to guide you through the show jumping tomorrow afternoon. And then on Sunday morning, the competition concludes with the cross country. And the time here in the 4-star short in Montelibretti is unbelievably tough. On average, since 2008, only 4% of competitors actually can achieve the optimum time. It really makes its mark on the leaderboard. Now, though, it is for Spain, Carlos Diaz Fernandez and Everez DV. Spain sitting 6th in the Nations Cup team competition, and Carlos actually had a ride in that yesterday. Everez DV making a debut at the 4-star level, actually a 28th run at the level for Carlos since 2008, so he's much more experience under his belt. But this horse stepping up to the level for the first time. Comes here having been very well placed actually in a 3-star in Madrid as part of their preparation for this 4-star run. They were top 10 there. They were runners-up in a 3-star long format last year as well. They've been winners at the 2-star level. So definitely had some good international results up the levels. What can they do here in the horse's debut at 4-star? That's the shoulder in along the near side here. And ground jury really looking for The regularity, the elasticity of the steps, the clear difference of tracks, 3 tracks or 4. Just goes, has a more quick way of naturally going, this horse. Carlos, who's been a massive stalwart of the Spanish team. He had that wonderful partnership with Yonko at CP. Did 2 World Equestrian Games, Tryon and Cannes, and then the World Championships in Protoni last year. Tauragé CP, his horse that he rides in the Nations Cup, actually was his ride in Protoni last year. He's had 4 senior European Championship appearances to his name as well. He's actually competed individually on every single one of them. Just a tiny bit of tension creeping in. Very strategic pat down the horse's neck, just out of sight from the judges, just to say, it's okay, take a breath. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because actually, ringmanship, ring craftsmanship, or, you know, it's a term that we talk about quite a lot in dressage. And it's so important, being able to present a test to the judges, knowing the moments at which you can get away with a few different techniques like that, just quietly reassuring the horse out of sight of the judges. But showing all of his experience. As big an extended canter as we've seen with some, and that extended canter as well, just remember that actually the transition from the collected canter into the extended canter and from the extended canter back to the collected canter are marked on their own, and then the 2 canters, the extended and the collected canter, have a mark themselves. So it's really important to show the very clear difference, but it does also mean that it can be a little bit more forgiving if you had a break in the extended trot, for example, if we were talking about that, or you can, obviously, your transition mark wouldn't be affected by that. Up the final centre line. Carlos Diaz Fernandez for Spain. Everez DV. The second of his rides in this 4-star. And we'll confirm his score for you when it comes through. Equi Results is where all of the scores are held. So if you would like to go and have a look at any of them, you can do so. The one to beat still DSP Fighting Line, Leah Siegel 24.4. This next rider to come forward, though, Henrik Adnavik, was one we actually saw yesterday as well. And Henrik scored 32.8 with Sam F, so sits well in contention actually in 14th place as things stand at the moment. Alessio Proa, Gato Soltado, 33.6. I was looking for that score to have come in for Harold Ambrose with his second ride. Not sure it's yet been confirmed. So we'll bring that for you as soon as it does come in. But at the moment, it is Austria who sit on top of the leaderboard, then Belgium in second, third and equal fourth with France. Belgium, of course, leading the Nations Cup competition as well. We're in the final couple of riders to come forward in the four-star competition. Those team riders were the early riders that we saw yesterday. And just 2 combinations left to present to our ground jury. But what a brilliant start to the 2023 FEI Eventing Nations Cup Series we have enjoyed so far. Some really top quality action, and it certainly promises to be a very exciting weekend ahead as well. The team here at Montelibretti have done a brilliant job because the weather has not been in their favour so much over the last couple of weeks, and they've had to work unbelievably hard to make sure that the going is as good as possible, that the fences, some have had to be resighted quite significantly. As we just wait for Henrik Adnovic to come forwards. We're running a couple of minutes ahead of schedule, so he's probably just making the most of those final few moments of preparation. He could, of course, choose to come forward ahead of his time, but well within his rights as well to just use every moment of his planned warm-up. If you want to continue to enjoy coverage across Clip My Horse and FEI TV this weekend, it is of course the Dutch Masters in St. the first of the Rolex Grand Slam jumping events of 2023. And then we will have more live eventing for you throughout April. The Spring Open from Stragom in Poland will be shown for you before the second leg of the Nations Cup Series in Chatsworth in England. One of the most iconic eventing locations, well worth tuning in if you're not familiar with the venue. It is absolutely extraordinary. Now it is 53-year-old Henrik Adnovic for Sweden. Comes forward with the Emperor. This the more experienced of his 2 rides by Empire, a horse that he owns alongside Ironbound AB. Actually 11th here in the 4-star short last week, so already had a Montelibretti 4-star run in 2023. Stepped up to the level a couple of years ago actually. Have had a top 15 finish in the 4-star long in Protoni. Then we're top 10 in Le Puget at the end of 2021. Good holds. Very clear immobility. These horses so beautifully turned out. Huge credit must go to the grooms and all of those who work so hard behind the scenes. Lovely relaxed extended walk. And Sweden, one of those teams that don't have to worry about Olympic qualification this year because they've already got it in the bag, having finished well placed at Protoni. A flying change. Wasn't quite as consistent in the contact, wasn't quite as straight as Henrik would have perhaps liked. Just a momentary loss of rhythm and balance. Went for his extended canter. And back for this second flying change. Clean flying change. Judges really want to see that flying change happen exactly when the rider asks for it. So on the aids, they want the hind legs to be engaged, straightness and uphill, and look at this extended trot. Such a shame, just a tiny loss of balance coming back in the corner, but such quality. Final halt, not quite square behind, but completes. And Henrik Adnovic and Empero finish their test here in Montelibretti, which means just one more combination to come forwards, and that will be for China, Alex Fatian and Chico in just a couple of moments' time. So let's just recap how things stand at the moment at the top of the leaderboard. It is DSP fighting line. Leah Siegel out in front at 24.4. Her lead has remained unchallenged to this stage. And then Jarno Verwimp for Belgium, 25.7 in second. Karen Donkers, his teammate on the Nations Cup, 28.1 in third. 28.3 equal fourth for Lara de Liederkerke-Meyer, Ducati d'Arville for Belgium, and also Karim Florin Leguargue, Triton Fontaine, also on 28.3. That is the top five as things stand. In the Nations Cup, which their dressage took place yesterday, these riders that we've seen this afternoon all competing as individuals, but the Nations Cup riders, their team rotations went yesterday for the first phase. 82.1 Belgium lead at the moment, ahead of Austria, hot on their heels, less than a fence behind them, 85.1 in second. Bit of a gap back then to Switzerland, 98.1 in third, who are chased very, very tightly by the Netherlands, 100.8 and 101.1. Italy hot on their heels as well. Spain in fourth at the moment, sixth at the moment, I beg your pardon, 108.3. So that is how the team standings look. But of course, it is the best three scores to count, and we've got plenty to do over the jumping in the next couple of days. Tomorrow afternoon, it is the show jumping. That will take place, I believe, on the all-weather surface now. The team have been doing, as I say, a really, really big job to try and ensure the going and the ground is as good as possible. And so I think they've elected, instead of using the usual big grass show jumping arena, they're going to do it on the all-weather surface just to make sure that the going is as good as possible. And we'll have that coverage for you. The show jumping due to start at 3 o'clock Central European time. So if you're following in Europe, 3 o'clock the show jumping, 2 o'clock British time. Then on Sunday morning, it will be the 4-star cross country. And 10:30 Central European time is what time they get going. So the last to go, and this is a really exciting combination, because not only is it a rider who has represented his country at the Olympic World Championship level, but also a very exciting new ride for him in 2023, because Alex Fatian comes forward with Chico, a horse owned by Polly Stockton and Kate Willis. Alex, who's based in Cheshire, alongside partner Sarah Higginson, who herself is a very, very good dressage rider. Alex has been to 3 Olympics, Hong Kong, Rio and Tokyo. Actually finished individually inside the top 10 in Rio with the wonderful Don Janeiro, and made history as part of the Chinese team in Tokyo. First time they have qualified a team to compete at the Olympics, and what an occasion it was. And they did very well. They finished in 9th place, and a number of those riders actually out here this weekend competing in the 4-star long, looking to help secure those Olympic qualifying spots, make sure they've got all their qualifications under their belt. Babarutko is where they will be going to look for an Olympic team qualification in May. But Alex Fatian has been the real trailblazer for Chinese eventing, and this a horse that is certainly one that we are very, very much looking forward to seeing, because it is a horse that he has taken over the ride on for 2023, was formerly produced by Polly Stockton, who has been a massive part of British teams over the years, was a former intermediate national champion in 2020 when they were held up at the Hambro Sport Horses Bergam International Horse Trials. But Alex takes up the reins, and a really exciting addition to his string. He's got a couple of really nice new horses. Also leads the 4-star long format with his 4-star short winner from last week, Nielsen van Barilhoff. Lovely Holt. He's a very elegant rider, Alex. Very good at presenting a test. Very tall. This combination actually finished 10th last week in the 3-star as part of their preparation, stepping up to the 4-star here. Sub-30 dressage, just a couple of time penalties to add. "12-year-old Chico." Irish bred. Ooh, just went to pick up the incorrect canter lead, and they had a slight moment of miscommunication, which meant that that flying change came up very, very quickly for them. And the horse just getting a little bit upset now. Alex just sitting very, very quietly. Lovely bit of horsemanship, gives the horse a pat down the neck and says it's okay. Sometimes horses, when they want to try so hard to give you what you're asking for, they don't like it when it's wrong. But you've got to get back on track, because at the end of the day, good judging means that the judges will judge that movement as they see appropriate, but then you're immediately on to the next one, and that one has to be forgotten. Almost just a little bit of tension has crept into this canter work just after that moment of upset. It will be interesting to see what this flying change is like. Better. Simply a stride after Alex asked for it. But it happened, was much less explosive. And again, it's one of those things in learning to ride a new horse and establishing that partnership. It's a horse that has been produced by a petite lady rider, Alex, very tall, very different. And so sometimes those little sort of miscommunications can happen, but ultimately it's all about how you move on from them. And the rest of that test, there was a lot to like. Alex Fatian, Chico, he won't be able to challenge the lead because Leah Siegel and DSP Fighting Line 24.4, but it's a really interesting score to come in because I think there'll be some good marks in there. Certainly a lot to like for the future, and a masterful bit of horsemanship from Alex Fatian. Chico looking forward to the jumping phases, and we are looking forward to the jumping phases as well because we will be live with you on FEI TV over the next couple of days, and we'll be with you every single step of the way for those. Don't forget that the show jumping for the 4-star Nations Cup class is 3 o'clock Central European tomorrow. That is Saturday. And then on Sunday morning, 10:30 Central European time for the cross country. Alex just having a thank you with one of our members of the ground jury as he prepares to exit the arena. But we'll be back tomorrow, 3 o'clock Central European time for the show jumping phase here of the first Nations Cup event of 2023. We hope you'll join us there.